Well, a fine good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome to the Mahoning County Board of Elections. Let's see, today is November 22nd. It's about 10 minutes past 8. Ms. Joyce. Director, please call the roll.
Mr. Monroe.
Here.
Ms. Winbush.
Here.
Mr. Wasco.
Here.
Mr. Beatrice.
Here.
Our first item is to consider the meeting minutes from the October 5th special regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Director, call the roll.
Mr. Monroe.
Yes.
Ms. Winbush.
Yes.
Mr. Wasco.
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice.
Yes.
And the meeting minutes from the November 6th and 7th, 2017 adjourned regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Director, call the roll.
Mr. Monroe.
Yes.
Ms. Winbush.
Yes.
Mr. Wasco.
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice.
Yes.
Well, the primary purpose for our meeting today is to certify the results of the general election. As part of that process, the first thing that we will do is to consider the provisional ballots that were cast at the election and determine those that are valid and those that are invalid. Joyce.
Yes, first of all, I would like to have Oz and Brian go with Chris into the scanning room to run a test deck so that everyone is sure the machines are qualified and ready to go. Chris will explain to both witnesses what the process is. That's something required by law, so we're going to run the test deck first, and then we can vote on what we need to vote on while they're doing that.
Very good.
So explain to the public, Joyce, what exactly.
A test deck is a deck we get from the printer that has certain numbers on it. We run it through the scanner to make sure that the numbers we get from the printer match the numbers on the ballot so that we know that everything is, in line, so that we can make sure that everything is adjusted correctly.
And one other thing, not to be a pain, but could you explain to the people why Oz and that other gentleman got to go and no one else got to go?
Well, I spoke to the candidates beforehand and told them that we would be ruling on the provisionals. If they wanted someone to run the test, go in while the test deck's being run, they picked 2 witnesses. And those are the people that are gonna go in and watch the test deck
And
being run.
they notified you back, is what you're saying?
Yes, they spoke to me and agreed.
Okay. All right.
You agree, right, boys?
Man.
Men, sorry.
Right.
Sorry. I have sons older than you.
All right.
Very good. Let's see, at the general election, there were approximately 478 provisional ballots that were cast at the polling place on election day. Joyce, has the staff reviewed those provisional ballots?
Yes, we have.
Have we identified those that are correct, proper, and valid?
Yes, we have.
And that number is 432, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and it's the staff's recommendation that those ballots be determined as being valid?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion from the board that the 432 ballots that have been reviewed by the staff, they've been found to be valid? Is there a motion to validate those ballots and count them this morning?
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
There are
Yes, Mr. Beatrice.
472 that we're considering valid. How many total?
432 we're considering valid.
And how many were total?
78.
478.
Okay.
So the motion is that the 432 ballots, provisional ballots, that have been reviewed by the staff and have found to have been valid, that those provisional ballots be opened, scanned, and added to the totals. That's the motion.
Those have not been opened as of yet?
No.
They have not been
no,
opened.
no.
They are still sealed.
Those are absentees that arrived late also.
Right, although we don't have to rule on those.
No, we don't.
Exactly. But the motion is that the valid provisional ballots be opened, scanned, and added to the totals. Any other discussion? Director, call the roll.
Mr. Monroe.
Yes.
Ms. Winbush.
Yes.
Mr. Wasco.
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice.
Yes.
Hey, John, you can check this out. Is there a
Yep, let's get those to the counting room.
Okay. The deputies will follow the ballots to the vault where they will be opened, where they will be cut, and then we'll open them in the scanning room, and they'll run through the machines there.
Now, we also have 46 provisional ballots that have been found to be invalid for a variety of reasons, and we'll take these one group at a time.
Okay, let's rule on the invalid absentees first. These are absentees that arrived late. They were not postmarked by the 7th. We used a scanner and the postmark, so these are actually ballots that cannot be counted.
Okay. The board does not have to rule on those choices, they can just be processed.
Okay,
Or not processed, I should say.
yeah, not processed.
And just so the public knows, anyone that wants to examine, in fact, if the addresses were, or that the postmark was subsequent to the election, they can look at that.
Well, they can't look at the provisionals until after we find out that there's no recount and no problem with the election. They
Okay.
can look at it then.
Okay,
Invalid polls, poll workers' day, the original ballot was submitted in a blank ballot box, into the ballot box blank. They let the voter vote provisionally. This should not count because his original ballot was cast.
Yeah, on your summary sheet, this is the first one marked item number 2. There's one ballot.
I move that ballot, do you want to do it all en banc, or do you want to do it individually?
We'll do these separately, Dave.
All right, I move that this ballot not be counted since the voter already voted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Director call the roll?
Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Ms. Winbush?
Yes.
Mr. Wasco?
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice?
Yes.
This is an invalid ballot in office. The voters should have voted in their own county. Which county was it in? Trumbull. They should have voted in Trumbull, but they voted in Mahoning.
Now, there are 3 of these, I believe, Judge. We can take these as a group.
Yes, we can take these as a group. This is the same issue. The voter voted, there's 2 of these voted in the wrong county. They voted in Mahoning when they should have voted in Stark and Trumbull. So these are the same actual issues. There's 3 of them.
These are 3 provisional voters that basically voted in the wrong county.
I move that those votes not be counted if they're voters in the wrong county.
Is there a second?
Second question.
Yes, Ms. Winbush.
Joyce, this address is Youngstown, Ohio, 44505.
But they're not registered to vote yet.
Okay,
They're still registered. in
okay,
Trumbull.
okay, thank you.
What is that issue on that one, Ann? That one? Can we see the back of that one, please?
This one here?
Determination.
Would that make a address change?
Well,
They're registered in Trumbull County.
They're registered in Trumbull. But do they live in Youngstown City, and with them doing that, will that automatically execute an address change for them?
should have.
No, they're still registered in Trumbull County.
Yeah, but if they moved to Mahoning, then should.
This was there, but this is Trumbull County.
Oh,
The address is
I
Trumbull.
see, Liberty.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
Liberty, okay.
Thank you,
Got it.
thank you, that feels better.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Liberty. That's confusing because 44505 is Youngstown and Liberty Township, so that is
Okay,
confusing.
thank you.
There's been a motion and a second. Director call the roll?
Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Ms. Winbush?
Yes.
Mr. Wasco?
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice?
Yes.
These are deleted voters who do not fall under the purge law that they enacted at the Supreme Court. They are not, they're deleted voters who have not voted in 8 years.
You're registered now though, right?
Yes.
Voting
yes.
registered.
Yeah, they're registered now.
Question, Joyce. This says deleted voter felony. What does that mean?
It means they were incarcerated and they cannot vote when they commit felony. But he can re-register to vote, but he wasn't voted, he was a felon at the time his registration was deleted. He has to re-register to vote. He cannot, we cannot pick up his,
So if you are incarcerated on
if
a
you
felony,
commit a felony and you're convicted,
right,
you're
You lose your
removed from the
privileges.
voting rolls.
and you have to
You have to
re-register.
re-register to be able to vote again.
Thank you.
So he will be re-registered, or they will be re-registered now.
five ballots total.
Joyce, I think you answered this, but I just want to ask you again. This did not fall under Secretary Houston's purview,
No, they
right?
did not, they did not,
These are old, they haven't voted in over 8 years.
over 8 years.
And so by Ohio law, they get
Right, they
deleted.
were deleted for that reason.
Okay.
Is there a motion that those 5 deleted voter ballots not be counted?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. Director, call the roll.
Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Ms. Winbush?
Yes.
Mr. Wasco?
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice?
Yes.
This is a simple one, the voter just forgot to sign it.
Is this a provisional ballot, Joyce?
Yes. That's a fatal flaw.
When they hand the provisional ballot to the poll worker, does the poll worker look at it and say you didn't sign it, or do they
Well,
just
they
take it?
should, they have an arrow there that shows that they should sign it there. Sometimes the poll workers just don't look, I mean, one out of all those, we used to have a lot more before we put the arrows on the provisional, so ones are pretty good odds, to tell the truth. We used to get a lot more of those where the
I
voter
move
just was in
that-
a hurry and didn't sign.
That vote not be counted?
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Director, call the roll.
Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Ms. Winbush?
Yes.
Mr. Wasco? Mr. Beatrice?
Yes.
This is, the back voter filled out everything, signed it, but forgot to put their address on Springdale. It just has no address number. It has a street, but it doesn't have an address number.
Does it have to have an address
Is
number?
it fatal flaw?
Well, yeah, but they don't know where they live on Springdale.
If they signed it, can't we look it up? I don't know.
Yeah.
You can't look it up if you still don't know. We are in the state statute, Secretary of State Director.
Yeah, we're just following the directive.
The directive says that they don't put the address,
Address.
you can't count it. Do you know that to be true, Craig?
I just know that it has to be filled out completely.
Right. I think yeah, we would not know where to look on Springdale, and I don't know how we would look it up.
How about by their last name, because they'd be a registered voter. So if you look at their last name, their address would automatically come up.
This is a provisional, he doesn't live at the old address he was registered to
Oh,
vote
I
at
see.
before.
He moved, in other
He
words.
moved to Springdale,
So you don't know where.
yes.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I move that not be counted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Director, call the roll.
Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Ms. Winbush?
Yes.
Mr. Wasco?
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice?
Yes.
There are 17 of these are people that were completely not registered. We never turn anyone away at the polls, we let everybody vote. These people we always voted by provisional, these people were not registered to vote at all.
They're registered now, though.
They're registered now.
Do we contact them and let them know?
We
send a
register them,
postcard?
and we send them a postcard, telling them their new address and where they're
Do we
registered.
tell them that their vote did not count?
That's up to them to call us to see if their vote counted, not for us to call them. That's why we get that pink slip out of the polls when the voter votes provisional. It explains to them the laws and that they have to contact us if they didn't have ID and if they did not, have a problem.
Is there a motion that the 17 not registered voters who cast provisional ballots not be counted?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Director, call the roll.
Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Ms. Winbush?
Yes.
Mr. Wasco?
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice?
Yes.
There are 18 of these. These are people who voted in the wrong precinct in the wrong polling location. They were probably told to go to their right location, but they just refused. So they actually voted in the wrong precinct in the polling location. people that vote in the right location and the wrong precinct, we count those, we remake those, we count those. These are actually people who voted in the wrong precinct and the wrong polling location. So these are invalid.
So, people go to the polls, they check in with the poll books. We
Yes.
tell them that they need
We
to go
print them a
to,
slip and tell them where to go to vote, but they insist on, this is where I used to vote, this is where I want to vote, this is where I'm going to vote. So we don't argue with them, we vote everybody, we never turn anybody away. So we just vote them provisionally and then deal with it when it gets back to our office.
But they are told where to go, right?
Yes, yes.
they're giving us
Each
a
time poll will print out a slip telling them where their location is. In their precinct.
So do they end up getting a postcard reminding them?
We will register them to vote, once,
Well, they're already registered, it sounds like.
well, they're registered, yeah, but we will send them, we'll update their registration because, just to make sure that, you did that already, didn't you check their registration already? Yeah, check their registration already, so they just went to the wrong place.
These voters, was there, did they used to vote where they said they used to vote and we changed it, or no?
I don't know, I'd have to go back and check that, but when they were checking at the polling station, it's given them where they're supposed to go.
No, I understand that, but
Before
like
the election-
Youngstown St. Patrick's Church, we haven't changed that polling location
In years.
In years.
Yeah.
So,
If you read me off the locations, I can tell you.
East High School, same
Nope,
thing,
never changed,
and Martin Luther King,
never changed,
and Harding Junior High.
never changed.
but that doesn't mean that they didn't go to the wrong place.
No, what I'm saying is, what I was
They might have
inquiring.
gone to Arlington, should have gone to Arlington, and Harding instead, things
Right,
like that.
but these, I could tell, these polling, in
No.
St. Brendan's, that hasn't
Never,
changed.
no, here's,
And Dominic's hasn't changed.
nope,
So,
yeah.
all right, I move that we not count those.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Winbush. Discussion. Director call the roll?
Mr. Monroe,
Yes.
Ms. Winbush,
Yes,
Mr. Wasco,
Yes.
Mr. Beach.
Yes.
You can have them take this back to the vault and lock, put them in the vault, yeah, don't lock the vault, but just put them in the vault.
And they're going to proceed with the counting of all the late
Yes.
arriving absentees, military overseas.
So now we're.
That came in in a timely fashion.
In a timely fashion.
So now we're officially counting, we're doing the
Yes,
count.
yes, the witnesses are
And
there.
so we'll have the official results.
Right. Not so far, you might get them from here.
but that's far.
So far, we're okay.
Oh, that's unusual, isn't it?
Small election, presidential election.
Okay.
Without objection, I'm going to suggest that we move on to agenda item number 7. And we'll return and consider the certification after the ballots are scanned, tabulated, and added to the final totals. Let's see, under the chairman's report, I don't have anything myself this morning, Joyce. Let's just go directly to the director's report.
Okay, we need to pay a moral obligation to Boardman News for 690. Because there was a Boardman election in the township, we contact that newspaper to run our ads informing the voters. Any district that has a local newspaper, we try to do that. Boardman is basically, besides the Vindicator, is the only one that does.
That's not for every election though,
No,
it's just
no,
for Boardman Township.
Townships. Right, so we need just to vote to pay that.
I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Director call the roll?
Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Ms. Winbush?
Yes.
Mr. Wasco?
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice?
Yes.
I also put in front of you a demonstration day, if any of you can attend on December 6th in Cuyahoga County. I have been in contact with 5 counties. We are thinking of, if we all buy the same system, thinking of bundling and getting a better price from a vendor if we all go together. So Cuyahoga County is having this demonstration on the 6th, which Tom and I and Chris Rackesy are going to attend, to go through all the voting things. And then we're going to have a lunch meeting with Cuyahoga and all the other counties that are talking about bundling this equipment together to get a better price from a vendor. So if any of you can attend or go up and look at this equipment, see what you think, we'd appreciate it, I'd appreciate it. I also as you know, we had a problem with the Vindicator on election night. I have been in touch with other, first I called Ernie Brown. I went down and I met Ernie Brown. I asked him what the situation was. I did not realize that they still type each thing into their system. So I got proactive and I called other newspapers to see how they handle it. They have a gentleman named Pete Sakari who handles turning this information over to papers so they can make it simpler. That's what the Plain Dealer uses, that's what other bigger, newspapers use. So I talked to Ernie again yesterday, and I'm going to meet with Todd Franco. I'm going to be proactive on this, set up a meeting with Todd Franco. He's going to be handling this from now on. So I'm going to meet with Todd Franco and get proactive, see where we can go from here, so that, like the other media, it will go off the website, or we will actually send them something that can be put into their newspaper correctly and from here, instead of someone having to type it in. It'll save them a lot of grief and us a lot of grief.
Trace, will you explain, so if anybody doesn't know, what really happened that night with the tabulation?
Huh?
So if there's
It
anyone
was
that may not
really a
know.
human error.
It was.
Sure.
You got blamed for it, maybe I should be.
Sure, we have 2 scanners, high-speed scanners, that we count all the absentees on prior to election. Usually we start over the weekend counting the absentees. In boards of elections around the state, we're allowed to accumulate results, but we can't tabulate results until election night at 7:30. So on Sunday, or Monday this time, we ran all the absentee ballots, over 9,000 onto 2 different scanners. 3,000 on one scanner, 6,000 on another. And then those results are then accumulated, and then they're tabulated at 7:30 on election night. So the first report you see at the media is the absentee reports. Well, about 10:18 that night, I went into the counting room, and they were finishing up the counts from the polling locations, and there was 18 curbside votes left to count. Now, curbside votes are those people who come to the polls and can't go into the polls, so we send a Democrat and Republican poll worker out to the sidewalk, the parking lot, to vote those voters. And those 18 ballots need to be included in the election unofficial count that night. So I picked the scanner out, the first scanner. I scanned the 18 curbside ballots into that scanner, not realizing that the scanner wasn't zeroed out. So what happened at 10:30 is those 6,000 absentee ballots that were reported at 7:30 were also reported again at 10:30, including the 18. Well, we caught that mistake about 10:40 that night, within 10 minutes. And so it took us about 20 minutes until 11 o'clock to back out the 6,000 duplicate votes that were ran at 7:30 and at 10:30. And that's how we got the duplicate votes put into the final unofficial at 10:30. And so at 10:30, 11 o'clock, you're seeing 2 different numbers, because 11 o'clock, we back out the original 6,000 that were duplicated at 10:30. Does that explain it?
Yeah.
And then the correct numbers were put on our website, and much of the TV media went from the website anyway. So they were okay. It was the Vindicator that, we just forgot to contact. Truthfully, I was more worried about getting the right report to the Secretary of State, because that's my obligation. That's where we went from there. I truly didn't even think about anything else at that point.
And actually, I think Mark, we were still here, and making sure that the results did not change.
Right.
So we went through every election and checked to make sure that the results did not change because of an error. And we do want to apologize if there was any
We do apologize.
any problem with the Vindicator or any other media outlet because of our mistake.
And we are gonna get proactive in, getting with the media, getting a contact number, when it's late at night, trying to, work through this process a little more. We live and learn.
There's a couple things I want to say. One is, I wasn't even here. I had knee surgery. I was in excruciating pain. The doctor hadn't even, which was funny, is I went to my doctor and he cut out Bertram's article and showed me and said, I told you not to go back to work. So, and so I didn't even know it was there. I want to apologize to the Vindicator for two things. One, unlike the other media, the Vindicator is here all the time.
Yes.
They regularly cover our meetings, and for one of us not to pick up the phone or to call David Skolnick and say, hey, there's been a change, we just simply should have done that.
Well, the buck stops here. I'm the director. I should have thought about it. I just didn't.
And in the interim, we got a letter from Secretary Houston.
Correct.
And so I have constructed a letter back to Secretary Houston. I'd like to read it, and if the board agrees, we can adopt it. If not, I'm just gonna send it
Well,
individually.
that's fine. We also have to do a report, the director, the deputy director, myself, and our IT are also writing a report about step by step what happened.
Right.
So that would be
So
fine.
if I could read what I
Sure.
wrote to Secretary
Absolutely.
Houston.
You can do whatever you want.
Dear Secretary Houston, I am writing in response to your letter directing the Mahoning County Board of Elections to conduct an internal review of the events surrounding the tabulation of votes cast in the November 7th, 2017 general election and report the results of those reviewed to you and your staff by November 28, 2017. As you know, as a result of an unintentional error made by Deputy Director Thomas McCabe, more than 6,000 early votes were counted twice, and an inaccurate final official report was issued to some of the media and the public at 10:27 on election night. Per your instructions, we are examining the events that led to the tabulation error, the posting of the inaccurate results, and the delay in reporting both the mistake and correct vote totals to the media. The report based on the results of our examination will be both honest and meticulous. I believe, however, that you and we need to do more. In order to maintain public trust in our electoral system, I respectfully ask that you and your staff conduct a comprehensive study of every facet of our operation, recommend changes in policies and procedures, and assist us in developing and executing a plan for the implementation. If you agree to conduct a review, I'm proposing that we have an opportunity to use the unfortunate mistake that occurred on November 7th as a catalyst for positive change that will significantly improve the Mahoning County Board of Elections. Secretary Houston, thank you in advance for considering my request. I eagerly await your response. The only reason why I'm sending, or the only reason why I had suggested this, I don't think we're doing anything wrong. I think we run very clean, good elections.
We're one of the premier counties in the
I
state.
agree with that, but I don't want-
And we follow the directions of the
Just-
Secretary of
Joyce,
State.
just
You can
listen.
ask Perry.
I understand that, but I don't want the public to say, oh, they're reviewing themselves, and they themselves have said everything's good. What I'm suggesting is, I know we run good elections. I know our director and our assistant director are top flight. But I don't want it to be in the public that somehow we are the ones reviewing ourselves and then reporting to the secretary. I know if the secretary comes in, he's gonna say, this is one of the premier board of elections. I just don't want it, he's saying you guys review it, and then that then opens up us and him to say, oh, you allowed the people that made the mistake to conduct the review. What I'm saying is let him come in and say exactly what we know happened. That way it gives an independent validation, that's all I'm
I have
saying.
no problem with that. The Secretary of State they review us all the time. We're
Sure.
under mandates and directives constantly, so I have no problem with that.
When I read the
I
letter-
think it was a simple human error.
I know it was.
People do make mistakes.
I know it was, I sent everyone an email chain that I sent to the Vindicator, and I told the Vindicator, listen, I had to leave early, if you wanna blame someone, blame me, well, they
I
did.
don't know, you never say. That's something you never say to the people.
But I just don't want it to, the public to think that Secretary Houston said, okay, Mahoning County, you review your procedures and report to us. To the public or to us, to our critics, they're saying, oh, Secretary Houston's allowing them to do their own review of themselves. Of course, nothing's gonna be found wrong.
Well, he ordered us to do that.
I understand that. That's the purpose of this
No, I
letter.
have no
All
problem
right,
with that.
I would suggest, is there a motion that the board endorse the sending of this letter?
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Director, call the roll?
Mr. Monroe?
Yes.
Ms. Winbush?
Yes.
Mr. Washko?
Yes.
Mr. Beekers?
Yes, and here.
Now,
I need a couple.
along these same lines, I would ask the board to consider adopting a motion. And I would suggest that motion might say that it be the policy of this board that in the event the board issues an amended final unofficial tally on election night, following the earlier release of a final unofficial tally, that reasonable steps be taken to contact members of the media who may not be aware that an amended report has been issued.
I so move.
Second.
Okay with that? Discussion? Director, call the roll.
Well, wait a minute.
Oh,
wait a minute,
I'm
wait,
sorry.
wait, I want a discussion.
Go ahead,
I would
Director.
like someone from the board to be appointed to, and I think Joyce proactively did this, to ensure that when we have the final unofficial, that someone contact each of the media and say, do you have the final unofficial? Here it is.
Well, yeah, that's exactly where I wanna go with this.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be part of the,
I
part of the,
also have
part of the, one of the
some
recommendations.
things too that I want to change on election night, the way that we conduct business, in that scanning room.
Well, you're the director, make the
So,
changes.
in the past, when, we would always give the first results to the board members, they would approve that, and then we would release it to the public. I think that's a policy that we need to go back to. We give it to the board members first, they approve it, we give it to the public. Sometimes we are in such a hurry to get the things to the media and on the internet that we lose sight of where we should be. And Tom and I are working on some things that we're going to instigate for election night, where we're not going to have this chaos with everybody watching us and everybody standing at the door, give me the results, give me the results. That's not gonna happen anymore. You know,
I
it's gonna
agree
be-
with that.
It's going to be a much better system and a much better flow.
I think
We're
the
gonna go back to
public
that.
Yes, I'm going,
deserves us to be accurate.
exactly.
And when we pressure Chris, and when we pressure you, Joyce, and when we pressure Tom for speed,
Yeah.
and we're pressuring you,
Right.
and the outside people pressuring you, and we're
Yeah,
all pressuring
accuracy is
you.
the key. and,
Accuracy is the key.
Yeah, and fast results is
Did they
not.
say when we pressure?
Yeah, that's what he said, we.
That's what I thought he said.
He said we.
Just clarify.
Just making sure.
There's a motion, there's a second that this policy be adopted as I've read. Any other discussion? Director, call the roll.
Mr. Monroe,
Yes.
Ms. Winbush.
Yes.
Mr. Wasco.
Yes.
Mr. Beekers.
Yes.
Let's see.
Joyce, you're the director, so we as a board entrust you to run this place, you and Tom. So if you come up with changes,
Oh, there are gonna be changes.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you make the changes, that's what we hire you for.
Is there any unfinished business to consider? Is there any new business? Any board communications to report?
None received by the secretary, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we did receive a letter from Secretary Houston.
I did not.
Anything for the good of the order?
I think you all
Anything,
received that.
any public comment this morning before we recess and await the tabulation of the provisionals? Any public comment? Hearing none, we will stand in recess and we'll reconvene upon the tabulation of the provisionals.
I'll go see where we are.
It shouldn't take too long.
No, it shouldn't. I don't.
This board is back in session. Joyce, have we completed the tabulation of the provisionals and have they been added to the unofficial results from election night?
Yes, we have, sir.
Any problems to report?
None. The mayor's race came a little closer. I have Chris checking to see if it's 0.5%. I don't think it is, but I'm checking anyway.
Very good. We
No, it's
are,
actually increased, I counted the votes, 198 votes.
This one.
Oh, it was 166, you're
That's
right.
correct.
Yeah, so it does not fall within the 5/10.
we are in receipt of of what may be the final official canvass of the November 7th election. Is there a motion to certify these results as official?
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Director, call the roll?
Mr. Monroe,
Yes.
Ms. Winwood,
Yes.
Mr. Wasco.
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice.
Yes.
Very good. Our next regular meeting is set for Tuesday, December 5th at 8 a.m. Anything else?
Move to adjourn?
Is there a second?
I have a question.
Ms. Winbush.
The next meeting is in a week. Is that awfully close for us to have a meeting?
It's not in a week, it's a week after next.
A week after next, I mean, that's all.
Uh,
Regular schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, Madam Director, is that not on the day that you're going to Columbus anyway? Or to-
I'm going the 6th and 7th.
That's
Oh,
the-
6 and 7,
the
okay.
next
fine.
thing.
Okay, thank you.
No, that is our
Yeah,
next,
thank you.
that is our next regular meeting. There's a motion, there's a second. Director, call the roll.
Mr. Monroe?
Yes,
Ms. Winbush?
Yes.
Mr. Wasco?
Yes.
Mr. Beatrice?
Yes.
we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.